Any market pumps leading into this PPI data could be a nice short for us. This is the daily entry. I'm bringing you day trading setups on the NAS, Dow, gold, oil, and of course, BTC. Let's go. Now, still lots happening out there with the war and things like that, so we are going to look at oil, but this is the big news today. This is what the market is looking for, and we want to see, obviously, the bulls want to see cooler PPI inflation, maybe some softer job numbers as well, and that could give the markets a bit of a catalyst to pump a little bit. So that is what they're going to be looking at. If the markets do pump prior to this data and the data disappoints, this could really tee us up for quite a nice short. So guys, that is basically the playbook here for today. Remember the rules, 2-to-1, 1-to-1 type plays. We're not trying to get married to these losers. If they lose the area, we're going to cut these things. We move on to the next zone. Remember, we're playing high probability zones, and we want to make sure the odds are stacked in our favor before executing certain zones. Okay, let's get into our first chart. And the first one is oil. We need to talk about this thing, and it is looking super bearish on the lower time frame. And you can see there's a lot of weight on that chart now, and this final move on the oscillator is pushing down. So in terms of oil, what is the current play? So I don't have any longs and I don't have any shorts in this tight range for what I'm looking for at the moment. But what I can say is if we do get this accelerated move to the downside, which is looking like a possibility here on our oscillator, we could get one final drop. We will be looking for a bounce and a possible long here around the 79 region. What does this mean for other assets though? If oil starts dropping in that region, we should see some of these other assets, the NAS, the Dow, crypto, start pushing to the upside. So that is definitely a fun one to watch here today. So just look out. That's obviously going to be your danger zone if we do get a pump in the market and corresponding shorts on some of those other guys. If oil for whatever reason screams up from here, and it obviously is still a possibility, you can see we are sitting on a level, and if it does pump up from here, I do like that short, 86 to 87. That is still on the table for me. So kind of just waiting patiently at the moment. And this is just really a nice guide for us as well as to where some of these other assets could be moving. Now, let's get into the NAS. What is going on here? So a couple of pointers. Yesterday's zone was front run. I was very frustrated. I was super excited waiting for this zone to trigger yesterday. You can see that wick. I was licking my lips. We had bearish divergence printing on the oscillator. All the stars were aligning for the ultimate daily entry short play here for us. I was so excited, and they front ran it and dropped us down. But that doesn't mean we don't have an opportunity today. We just need to play this thing super carefully. So we can all agree here that this zone is unused, 29,950. So I am still favoring this as my preferred short zone, 29,950. Remember, if you want the odds stacked in your favor, you want to see an overdone oscillator and ideally diverging oscillator here, and that will give you that extra confidence. The odds will start leaning in your favor that this trade is going to play out for you. So obviously at resistance, look out for the reversals, look out for those divergences, especially if you are going to go max size on some of your trades. Now, if it does pop one level higher, 30,050, super interesting to me. And then what could cause a problem? What could bring this drop all the way down here? Well, what if we get really bad PPI data? And I think the market's not going to love that. So that is where that brings us into 29,415 for the big bounce here today. Look at this VWAP coming in, slowly creeping up here. And we do have some wick action as well as the 618 fib sitting in that zone. So longs 29,415 on the NAS. Now, remember, guys, all these charts, they go into the Hackers Discord for you guys. Just go into the show description, click on more, and you're going to find a link to the Discord. You can sign up there, join our Discord, and then any updates during the course of the day, I'm going to drop for you in the daily entry channel under my section there. Now, let's get into our next banger. Oh, this is the Dow, and yesterday we finally nailed that zone that we were waiting for so long at the lows of that Dow. So this one is now ticking over. I'm pretty much done here with this position. We will be cutting some of this, and you can see I do have one sell order sitting at some wicks, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why this is making sense to me at the moment. Okay, let's get into the chart here. You can see we are rejecting a little bit early, but in terms of what we wanted here for the Dow, I wanted to see these wicks get taken out. You remember those wicks that I covered during the course of yesterday? Those wicks over there. So we did finally get the drop, and we got a nice bounce. Okay, so now a decent trade out of this guy. And in terms of where's the next short play at the moment, 53,968. You can see I've got that order sitting there on UBIT at the moment, waiting for that short. And then we want to try and tie this in with an extra hot oscillator to the upside. Okay, we want to see overbought signs, we want to see reversal signs matching at resistance, and that can give us a trigger to send this one lower. So that is my first conviction short short zone, call it 54,000 on this Dow Jones capital.com chart, then an area a little bit higher, and I'm a little bit 50-50 on this zone, and the reason being is this massive wick here is a problem for me, but I'm going to put this here, this VWAP in this zone. I'd say tentative area 54,070. Look for a tentative short in that zone if we push higher, and then in terms of the big one, 54,200, guys, that'll fill this wick entirely, and that will give us a nice short. 54,000. It's 54,217. Now, the quicker it happens, the better, because then the oscillator is going to be more overcooked there to the upside. Let's talk about some gold as well. This thing is also starting to lean bearish, and I wanted to show you guys this oscillator on the 8 hour, really looking a little bit tired now at the moment while we wait for gold to roll over. Look at that, it's lots of divergence. It is starting to point down pretty sharply, but in terms of the big short zone for me that makes sense, I am sticking to my guns here. I do believe there is a possibility that we run into that 200-day MA, that macro 618. It's waiting there, licking its lips to get pinged there from gold, and I think that is going to deliver some kind of banger there for us. So I'm waiting patiently. 4,500, that could be a really nice short there. Oscillator bearish. Obviously, if gold rips higher, you're going to get a further bearish divergence print on any rejections at that 200 days. So just waiting patiently, guys. In terms of longs, I'm not really interested at the moment. We need this thing to fall over, and then we can hunt a couple more longs there for you on gold. Now, in terms of yesterday, Bitcoin, what a banger. Okay, so 2 days in a row, that rejection zone really getting respected by Bitcoin, as well as our bounce support zone. So yesterday was pretty clean once again on Bitcoin, and I did take that long for that wick fill that we were sitting in yesterday when there was a drop. Now, what is interesting with Bitcoin at the moment, look at this liquidity. This is the 1 week heat map we've got here from CoinGlass. It's sitting on our dashboard at the moment. Look at that, 63K, lots of juice here to the downside, all the way to 62, just above 62. Really good tie in there with a nice flush to the downside, and then look at all this juice to the upside, 64,500 into about 66K, tying in really nicely with some incredible levels here on Bitcoin. Now, I just wanted to show you these order blocks so you guys could just get some perspective as to what's going on. Super bearish. Okay, look at this bearish zone up here between 64,300 and 64,800. That is why I've said they're danger zone. And then look at this nice liquidity waiting at our previous weekend lows that were swept. We do have a bullish order block sitting down there, but as you can see, we don't have too much sitting in between these areas, so they get a little bit more suspicious for me in terms of getting a decent reaction. Okay, now what do we do in terms of Bitcoin? Like, if PPI is good, we should see Bitcoin give us a bounce. My only issue is obviously this danger zone, which has been pinged a couple of times. 64.3 into 64.8. I still think that's a reasonable rejection zone. And then in terms of locally, you can see we've got this VWAP here, and this is starting to cause a couple of issues. Look at that blue VWAP over there acting as resistance, and you can see at the moment it is a little bit of a resistance problem for us, and that could be putting pressure on BTC to the downside. So what does this mean for me? Well, I'm sitting in this long from this wick fill yesterday, kind of waiting patiently here. I would say if we start losing 63,200, that is probably a cut zone. And then reasonably, where could this bounce? Okay, 62.8, but higher conviction in that bullish order block there for a small bounce, 62.300. Obviously, we can look lower down later on if we need to update, if things get a little bit crazy out there. But for me, the highest conviction long on what I see here, 62.300 into about, say, 62.200 at the moment. If we drop further, obviously updates later on. And then danger zones, guys, I'd say, look, potential shorts here in that box, anywhere up there. And then the highest conviction short is still that 66K zone to the upside. I'll make sure this chart is in the Hackers Discord for you guys. That is your daily entry. Keep it tight. Obviously, super volatile day. Be careful out there with sizing as well. Let things settle afterwards and just take it easy, guys. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.